I speak to you tonight about a principle so profound, yet so simple, that many of you may dismiss it at first. But I tell you with absolute conviction, the most important focus of your life must be yourself. Not the self that the world knows, but the self that is your true identity, your divine nature, your I am. When I say focus on yourself, I am not speaking of the outer self that you present to the world. I speak of that deeper self, that infinite being within you, that is God. For you must understand this fundamental truth. Your consciousness, your I amness is God. This is not blasphemy. This is the deepest truth of Scripture, hidden in plain sight for those with eyes to see. Consider the words, "Be still and know that I am God." These words are not speaking of a distant deity in some far-off heaven. They speak of your own wonderful human imagination, your own consciousness. When you truly focus on yourself, you are focusing on God, for you and the Father are one. Many of you come to me asking about manifestation, about creating your desires in the external world. But I tell you now, all manifestation begins with self-focus, with the recognition of who you really are. For how can you manifest anything if you do not first understand that you are the operant power? You are the God of your universe. Let me share with you a principle that I have tested and proven countless times. When you focus on yourself, your true self, you are focusing on the only creative power in existence. All things come from within. There is no other source. The world you see now is nothing more than your consciousness pushed out. Every person, every circumstance, every condition in your life is yourself pushed out. Do you understand the magnitude of this truth? Everything you see, everything you experience is yourself made visible. Therefore, to change anything in your world, you must first change yourself. Not the outer self, but your conception of yourself, your inner knowing. When I speak of focusing on yourself, I am speaking of assuming the state of consciousness of the person you wish to be. This is not about changing your actions first. Actions follow consciousness. First, you must focus on being the person who would naturally have, do, or be what you desire. Let me give you the perfect example from Scripture. When David faced Goliath, he didn't focus on the giant before him. He focused on himself as the victor. He dwelt in the consciousness of victory before a single stone was thrown. This is the secret that most of the world has missed. David focused on himself as the winner, not on the problem before him. You see, most people have it backwards. They focus on what they want to change in their external world. They focus on their problems, their limitations, their current circumstances. But I tell you now, this is like trying to change your reflection in the mirror by arguing with the mirror. You must change yourself, and the reflection will change automatically. When I tell you to focus on yourself, I'm telling you to focus on the state you wish to occupy. If you want wealth, focus on yourself as wealthy. If you want love, focus on yourself as loved. If you want success, focus on yourself as successful. But then this is crucial. You must do this from the inside out. Consider this. Every night before you sleep, where does your focus go? Most of you focus on the events of the day, the problems you face, the things you lack. But I tell you, this is the exact opposite of what you should do. Instead, focus on yourself in the state of your wish fulfilled. Feel yourself to be the person who has what you desire. Many of you may be thinking, but Wayne, isn't this selfish? Shouldn't we focus on others? Let me be very clear. There are no others. What you see as others are aspects of yourself pushed out. Therefore, when you truly focus on yourself, your highest self, your divine self, you are focusing on all of humanity. For we are all one consciousness, individualized into seemingly separate beings. The great secret that the mystics and prophets have tried to share throughout the ages is this: your consciousness is the only reality. Everything else, absolutely everything, springs from your consciousness. Therefore, focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is the most profound act of creation you can engage in. Let me share with you a technique I have often used and taught. When you go into the silence of your own being, focus on yourself as having already achieved your desire. Do not think of how it will happen. Do not think of the process. Think only of the end of the person you would be when your desire is fulfilled. If you wish to be wealthy, do not focus on making money. Focus on yourself as someone who is already wealthy. Feel the naturalness of wealth. Feel how you would feel if wealth were your natural state. Feel the security, the freedom, the peace that comes with wealth. This is focusing on yourself in the proper way. If you seek love, do not focus on finding someone to love you. Focus on yourself as someone who is deeply loved and cherished. Feel how you would feel if perfect love were your natural state. Feel the warmth, the security, the joy of being completely loved. This is focusing on yourself in the state of the wish fulfilled. Some of you might be wondering, but what about action? Don't we need to do something? Yes, action will come, but it will come naturally and effortlessly when you are properly focused on yourself in the state of the wish fulfilled. The actions will flow from your new state of consciousness, not from your current state of lack. Remember the story of Moses parting the Red Sea? He didn't focus on the impossibility before him. He didn't focus on the problem. He focused on himself as one who had the power to lead his people to safety. His focus on himself as the deliverer created the miracle. The sea parted not because of what he did, but because of who he knew himself to be. This is the true meaning of focusing on yourself. It is not about ego. It is not about selfishness. It is about recognizing and claiming your divine nature. It is about understanding that you are the operant power in your world. Everything you see, everything you experience is beautifully created. When you walk through your day, remember this truth. The world you see is yourself pushed out. Every person you meet is yourself pushed out. Every circumstance you encounter is yourself pushed out. Therefore, to change anything, focus on yourself. Not the outer self, but the inner self, the consciousness from which all things spring. I want you to grasp this principle so deeply that it becomes the foundation of your entire life. Your consciousness is the only reality. Your I amness is God. Therefore, when you focus on yourself, your true self, you are focusing on the creative power of the universe. Do not make the mistake of thinking that focusing on yourself means becoming self-centered in the egotistical sense. This is not about the personality, the outer self. This is about recognizing and claiming your divine nature. This is about understanding that you are the operant power in your world. Let me share with you another profound truth. The state you focus on becomes your reality. If you focus on yourself as limited, as lacking, as unable, that becomes your reality. But if you focus on yourself as the embodiment of success, of abundance, of love, that becomes your reality. The choice is yours. And you make this choice through your focus. Consider the story of Joseph in the Bible. While in prison, he didn't focus on his circumstances. He focused on himself as the interpreter of dreams, as one who had a divine gift. His focus on himself in this elevated state led him from the prison to the palace. This is the power of proper self-focus. Many of you spend your days focusing on what's wrong in your life, what's missing, what needs to be fixed. But I tell you now, this is the opposite of what you should do. Instead, focus on yourself as the person who has what you desire. Feel yourself to be that person. Live from that state. The world is yourself pushed out. Therefore, when you focus on yourself properly, you are focusing on the cause, not the effect. You are focusing on the root, not the fruit. You are focusing on the creator, not the creation. When you go to sleep tonight, I want you to focus on yourself as the person you wish to be. Feel the naturalness of being that person. Feel how that person would feel. Let this feeling saturate your consciousness. This is not imagination in the fantasy sense. This is using your imagination as the creative power it truly is. Remember, your consciousness is the only reality. Everything else, your body, your circumstances, your relationships, your possessions, these are all effects. They are all yourself pushed out. Therefore, to change any effect, you must change the cause. And the cause is always your consciousness, your concept of yourself. Let me be very clear about this when I tell you to focus on yourself. I am telling you to focus on the state of consciousness you wish to occupy. If you want health, focus on yourself as healthy. If you want wealth, focus on yourself as wealthy. If you want love, focus on yourself as loved. But do this from the inside out, not the outside in. Many of you try to change things from the outside in. You try to change your circumstances first, hoping that this will change how you feel about yourself. But this is backwards. You must change yourself first, your concept of yourself. your inner knowing. And then the outer world will conform to this new self-concept. Think of it this way. Everything you see in your world is yourself pushed out. Therefore, if you don't like what you see, don't try to change the outer picture. Change yourself, your concept of yourself, and the outer picture must change to match your new self-concept. This is why focusing on yourself is so crucial. Not the self that the world knows, but the self that is your true identity. Focus on yourself as the person who already has what you desire. Feel the naturalness of being that person. Live from that state. Let me share with you another principle that I have tested and proven. The state you occupy is the state that manifests. If you occupy the state of lack, lack manifests. If you occupy the state of abundance, abundance manifests. If you occupy the state of love, love manifests. This is law. Therefore, when you focus on yourself in the state you wish to manifest. If you want success, focus on yourself as successful. Feel how you would feel if success were your natural state. Let this feeling saturate your consciousness until it becomes your dominant state. Many of you make the mistake of trying to change things in your outer world while maintaining the same concept of yourself. But I tell you now, this is impossible. The outer world can only reflect your concept of yourself. It cannot be otherwise. Think of yourself as a radio broadcasting station. Whatever frequency you broadcast, whatever state you occupy, that is what manifests in your world. Therefore, to change your world, change your broadcast, change your concept of yourself. When you go into meditation or prayer, do not focus on what you want to change in your outer world. Focus on yourself as the person who already has what you desire. Feel the naturalness of being that person. Let this feeling saturate your consciousness. Remember, the feeling is the secret, not the intellectual understanding, not the affirmations, not the visualizations. Although these can be helpful tools, the feeling of being the person who already has what you desire is the key. Let me give you a practical application of this principle. If you want more money in your life, do not focus on getting money. Focus on yourself as someone who naturally has money. Feel how you would feel if money were your natural state. Feel the security, the freedom, the peace that comes with having money. If you want better relationships, do not focus on finding the right person or fixing your current relationships. Focus on yourself as someone who naturally experiences wonderful relationships. Feel how you would feel if perfect relationships were your natural state. The world is yourself pushed out. Therefore, whatever you focus on in yourself becomes your reality. If you focus on lack, lack manifests. If you focus on abundance, abundance manifests. If you focus on love, love manifests. This is law. Many of you spend your time trying to manipulate the outer world, trying to make things happen, trying to control circumstances and people. But I tell you now, this is unnecessary. Focus on yourself, your concept of yourself, and the outer world must conform to this self-concept. Remember, there is only one cause in all creation, and that cause is consciousness, your I am-ness. Therefore, when you focus on yourself properly, you are focusing on the only creative power in existence. Let me share with you another profound truth. The state you accept as real is the state that manifests. If you accept yourself as limited, limitation manifests. If you accept yourself as abundant, abundance manifests. If you accept yourself as love, love manifests. Therefore, when you focus on yourself, focus on accepting the state you wish to manifest. Accept it as real, accept it as natural, accept it as your true state. This acceptance is crucial. Many of you struggle with accepting the state you desire because your senses tell you otherwise. But I tell you now, your senses only show you what has been manifested from past states of consciousness. They cannot show you what is possible. I think of it this way. Your senses can only show you what has been. They cannot show you what can be. Therefore, do not let your senses dictate your concept of yourself. Choose the concept you wish to embody and focus on that. When you go to sleep tonight, I want you to focus on yourself as the person you wish to be. Feel the naturalness of being that person. Accept this as your true state. Let this acceptance saturate your consciousness until it becomes your dominant state. Remember, The outer world can only reflect your concept of yourself. It cannot be otherwise. Therefore, if you want to change your outer world, change your concept of yourself, this is the true meaning of focusing on yourself. Many of you make the mistake of trying to change things in your outer world while maintaining the same concept of yourself. But I tell you now, this is like trying to change your reflection in the mirror by arguing with the mirror. You must change yourself, and the reflection will change automatically. Let me share with you another principle that I have tested and proven. The state you persist in is the state that manifests. If you persist in the state of lack, lack manifests. If you persist in the state of abundance, abundance manifests. If you persist in the state of love, love manifests. Therefore, when you focus on yourself, persist in the state you wish to manifest. If you want success, persist in seeing yourself as successful. Feel how you would feel if success were your natural state. Let this feeling become so familiar that it becomes your dominant state. Remember, persistence is crucial. You cannot occupy a state for a moment and expect it to manifest. You must persist in the state until it becomes your natural state, your dominant state. Many of you give up too soon. You occupy a state for a day or two, see no results, and return to your old state. But I tell you now, persistence is key. Persist in the state you wish to manifest, regardless of appearances. Think of it this way. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You trust the law of growth. In the same way, when you plant a new concept of yourself, trust the law of manifestation. Persist in the state regardless of appearances. Let me share with you another profound truth. The state you believe in is the state that manifests. If you believe in limitation, limitation manifests. If you believe in abundance, abundance manifests. If you believe in love, love manifests. Therefore, when you focus on yourself, focus on believing in the state you wish to manifest. Believe in it completely. Believe in it naturally. Believe in it, your true state. This belief is crucial. Many of you struggle with believing in the state you desire because your past experiences tell you otherwise. But I tell you now, your past experiences only show you what has been manifested from past beliefs. They cannot show you what is possible with new beliefs. Think of it this way. Your past experiences can only show you what has been. They cannot show you what can be. Therefore, do not let your past experiences dictate your beliefs about yourself. Choose the beliefs you wish to embody and focus on those. When you go about your day, I want you to focus on yourself as the person you wish to be. Believe in this version of yourself completely. Accept it as your true state. Let this belief saturate your consciousness until it becomes your dominant state. Remember, the outer world can only reflect your beliefs about yourself. It cannot be otherwise. Therefore, if you want to change your outer world, change your beliefs about yourself. This is the true meaning of focusing on yourself. Let me share with you one final principle. The state you live from is the state that manifests. If you live from lack, lack manifests. If you live from abundance, abundance manifests. If you live from love, love manifests. Therefore, when you focus on yourself, focus on living from the state you wish to manifest. If you want success, live from the state of success. Feel how you would feel if success were your natural state. Let this feeling guide your thoughts, your words, your actions. Remember, living from a state is different from trying to achieve a state. When you live from a state, you are that state now. When you try to achieve a state, you push it into the future. Many of you make the mistake of putting your desired state into the future. You say, I will be successful, I will be wealthy, I will be loved. But I tell you now, this keeps your desire forever. Let me reveal to you the exact principle by which this operates in consciousness. What appears as delay, what feels like resistance, what seems like endless waiting, these are actually the final moments before manifestation. Just as the darkest hour comes before dawn, your greatest resistance precedes your greatest breakthrough. Here is the divine law. When manifestation seems furthest away, it is actually closest at hand. For in the realm of consciousness, every feeling of distance is actually a sign of imminent manifestation. Your breakthrough is not coming, it is already here in consciousness, pressing against the thin veil of appearance. Now let me share with you something profound that few will ever grasp. The very fact that you are receiving this message, that you are hearing these words, is absolute proof that your breakthrough is at hand. For in divine law, nothing comes to your attention unless it is already seeking expression in your world. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, my breakthrough is not coming, it is here now. For in the realm of consciousness, there is no waiting, no process, no delay. There is only the acceptance or rejection of what already is. Let me share with you now how this principle operates in specific areas of your life. For this law is absolute and applies to every sphere of manifestation. When you truly understand this principle, you will see that the very presence of desire is proof of its fulfillment. For in divine law, no desire can exist unless its fulfillment already exists in consciousness. The desire itself is the shadow cast by the manifestation that already is. Here is the exact law. The intensity of your desire is directly proportional to the immediacy of its manifestation. That burning sensation you feel, it is not longing, it is the pressure of manifestation pressing against the thin veil of appearance. That persistent vision, it is not fantasy, it is reality seeking expression. Now here is something profound about desire that most will never grasp. The universe will give you desires it cannot fulfill. Every desire you feel is actually the universe announcing what it is about to deliver. Your desires are not your tormentors, they are your prophets. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, my desires are not mere wishes, they are announcements of what must come. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as unfulfilled desire. There is only delayed recognition of what already is. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your apparent obstacles. Every barrier you face, every resistance you encounter, every setback that seems to delay you, all of these are actually signs of imminent breakthrough. When you grasp this principle, you will understand that time itself is nothing but a servant of consciousness. What appears as delay in the world of Caesar is actually perfect timing in the realm of divine law. For in consciousness there is no waiting, there is only the perfect unfoldment of what already is. Here is the exact law. The moment of greatest doubt is the moment of imminent manifestation. That feeling of how much longer is actually the birth pain of your manifestation. That sense of will it ever happen is the final resistance before breakthrough. Now here is something profound about divine timing that few will ever comprehend. The universe doesn't delay, it develops. What appears as waiting is actually the perfect preparation for manifestation. Your seeming delays are not denials. They are divine setups for perfect manifestation. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing. Every apparent delay is actually perfect timing. For in the realm of consciousness, there is no such thing as waiting. There is only the perfect unfoldment of divine order. Let me reveal to you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your current circumstances. Every condition that seems fixed, every situation that appears unchangeable, every reality that feels permanent, all of these are actually fluid and responsive to your consciousness. When you truly understand this principle, you will see that circumstances have no power to persist except through your consciousness of them. For in divine law, what appears as solid circumstance is actually as malleable as clay in the hands of your imagination. Here is the exact law. Your current circumstances, no matter how seemingly fixed, are actually in a constant state of flux, responding moment by moment to your consciousness. That unchanging situation, it is actually trembling on the verge of transformation, that fixed reality. It is actually fluid, waiting for your consciousness to reshape it. Now here's something profound about circumstances that most will never grasp. The universe doesn't see your current conditions. It sees only your consciousness of what could be. Your circumstances are not your prison. They are your canvas, waiting for the brush of your imagination. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, my circumstances are fluid and responsive to my consciousness. For in the realm of consciousness, there is no such thing as fixed reality. There is only the constantly shifting reflection of your assumptions. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your past experiences. Every failure you've endured, every setback you faced, every disappointment you've survived, all of these are actually building blocks for your imminent breakthrough. When you grasp this principle, you will understand that failure is impossible in the divine economy. For in consciousness, what appears as failure is actually success in rehearsal. Every seeming defeat is actually preparation for victory. Every apparent setback is advancement in disguise. Here is the exact law. The magnitude of your previous failures is directly proportional to the scale of your imminent success. Those bitter defeats, they were actually training grounds for triumph. Those painful setbacks, they were actually positioning you for breakthrough. Now here is something profound about failure that few will ever comprehend. The universe doesn't recognize failure. It recognizes only experience, only preparation, only development. Your failures are not your identity, they are your education preparing you for success beyond measure. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, every failure transformed into greater success. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as permanent defeat. There is only temporary instruction, only momentary redirection, only perfect preparation. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your perceived limitations. Every boundary that seems to restrict you, every limitation that appears to confine you, every ceiling that seems to cap your potential, all of these are actually springboards to greater expression. For every boundary that seems to confine you, every restriction that appears to bind you, every limitation that feels insurmountable, these are actually the launching pads for your greatest expansion. When you truly understand this principle, you will see that limitations exist only in consciousness. For in divine law, what appears as limitation is actually an invitation to transcend, to expand, to break through into new dimensions of expression. Here is the exact law. The more confined you feel, the greater your imminent expansion. That sense of being boxed in, it is actually the pressure building for explosive growth. That feeling of being restricted, it is actually the compression that precedes expansion. Now, here is something profound about limitations that most will never grasp. The universe doesn't recognize boundaries. It recognizes only opportunities for expansion. Your limitations are not your prison walls. They are your launching pads, designed to propel you beyond all previous boundaries. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing. Every limitation contains within it the seed of greater freedom. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as permanent restriction. There is only temporary compression before expansion. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine potential. Every talent that lies dormant, every gift that remains unexpressed, every ability that seems blocked, all of these are actually gathering force for magnificent expression. Here is the exact law. The greater your sense of unrealized potential, the more imminent its expression, that feeling of untapped greatness. It is actually your manifested reality demanding expression, that sense of unrealized dreams. It is actually your success pressing against the present moment. Now, here is something profound about potential that few will ever comprehend. The universe doesn't give you abilities you cannot express. Every talent you possess, every gift you've been given, every capability you feel, all of these are guarantees of their own expression. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this, knowing my potential is not future possibility, it is present reality seeking expression. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as unrealized potential. There is only temporarily unexpressed reality. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine timing. Every moment that seems delayed, every opportunity that appears missed, every timing that feels off, all of these are actually perfect orchestration in divine sequence. When you truly understand this principle, you will see that nothing in your experience is accidental. For in divine law, what appears as coincidence is actually consciousness made visible. The outer world reflecting your inner knowing of imminent manifestation. Here is the exact law. The increasing frequency of synchronicities in your life is direct evidence of approaching manifestation. Those meaningful numbers you keep seeing, they are actually consciousness confirming your breakthrough. Those chance encounters, they are actually divine orchestration making way for your good. Now, here is something profound about divine science that most will never grasp. The universe doesn't speak in whispers, it speaks in patterns. Every recurring sign, every repeated message, every persistent synchronicity is actually the universe confirming your imminent breakthrough. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing every synchronicity is confirmation of my manifestation. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as coincidence. There is only the visible evidence of invisible law. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine preparation. Every lesson you're learning, every challenge you're facing, every experience you're having, all of these are actually perfect preparation for your imminent breakthrough. Let me reveal to you now how this principle operates in the realm of your seeming setbacks. For every obstacle that appears in your path, every resistance that rises up, every challenge that confronts you, these are not barriers to your breakthrough, they are announcements of its imminence. When you grasp this principle, you will understand that setbacks are actually setups. For in divine law, what appears as opposition is actually opportunity in disguise, resistance actually advancement in reverse clothing. Here is the exact law. The intensity of your current challenges is directly proportional to the magnitude of your imminent breakthrough. Those overwhelming obstacles, they are actually measuring the size of your coming victory. That fierce resistance, it is actually calculating the scale of your impending triumph. Now, here is something profound about setbacks that few will ever comprehend. The universe doesn't send obstacles to stop you. It sends them to strengthen you. Every challenge you face is actually custom designed to prepare you for the level of success that awaits you. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, my setbacks are actually divine setups. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as opposition. There is only opportunity wearing a mask. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine precinct. Every skill you're developing, every lesson you're learning, every experience you're gaining, all of these are actually perfect training for your imminent elevation. When you truly understand this principle, you will see that relationships are not fixed, they are fluid expressions of consciousness. For in divine law, what appears as separation is actually preparation for deeper union. What feels like disconnection is actually realignment for perfect connection. Here's the exact law. The depth of your current loneliness is actually measuring the magnitude of your coming actions. That sense of isolation, it is actually creating space for divine relationships. That feeling of disconnection, it is actually clearing the way for perfect unity. Now here is something profound about divine relationships that few will ever grasp. The universe doesn't remove people from your life without purpose. It rearranges relationships to match your rising consciousness. Every relationship shift you experience is actually aligning you with your next level of expression. Throughout your consciousness, maintaining this knowing every relationship change is perfect divine orchestration. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as lost connection. There is only perfect realignment for greater expression. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine purpose. Every confusion about your path, every uncertainty about your direction, every doubt about your calling, all of these are actually clarity in disguise. When you grasp this principle, you will understand that purpose is not something you find, it is something you allow to find you. For in divine law, what appears as confusion about purpose is actually perfect purpose preparing to reveal itself with absolute clarity. Here is the exact law. The intensity of your questioning about purpose is directly proportional to the magnitude of your coming revelation. That deep uncertainty, it is actually certainty gathering force. That persistent questioning, it is actually your purpose pressing for recognition. Now, here is something profound about divine purpose that few will ever comprehend. The universe doesn't hide your purpose from you. It reveals it through the very questions that seem to obscure it. Your confusion is not a barrier to clarity. It is the soil from which absolute certainty will grow. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing my purpose is not lost. It is revealing itself with perfect timing. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as purposelessness. There is only purpose preparing for perfect expression. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine abundance. Every financial strain, every material lack, every resource limitation, all of these are actually abundance gathering force for expression. When you truly understand this principle, you will see that lack is impossible in the divine economy. For in divine law, what appears as scarcity is actually abundance compressed. What feels like limitation is actually unlimited supply gathering force. Here is the exact law. The intensity of your current financial pressure is directly proportional to the magnitude of your coming abundance. That overwhelming sense of lack, it is actually abundance compressed to its breaking point. That feeling of restriction, it is actually unlimited supply preparing to burst forth. Now, here is something profound about divine abundance that few will ever grasp. The universe doesn't create lack, it creates pressure for expansion. Every financial strain you experience is actually the universe compressing abundance until it must explode into manifestation. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, my current limitations are actually unlimited supply and compression. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as lack. There is only abundance preparing for expression. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine health. Every physical challenge, every bodily limitation, every health concern, all of these are actually perfect health pressing against temporary appearance. Let me reveal to you now how this principle operates in the realm of your divine health. For every physical limitation you're experiencing, every bodily challenge you're facing, every health concern that troubles you, these are actually perfect health pushing through into expression. When you grasp this principle, you will understand that illness is impossible in divine reality. For in divine law, what appears as sickness is actually health asserting itself. What feels like limitation is actually wholeness pressing through appearance. Here is the exact law. The intensity of your current physical challenges is directly proportional to the magnitude of your coming health breakthrough. That persistent condition, it is actually perfect death-gathering force. That chronic issue, it is actually wholeness preparing to express. Now here is something profound about divine health that few will ever comprehend. The universe doesn't create illness, it creates opportunities for greater health expression. Every physical challenge you face is actually perfect health, demanding recognition. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, my body is not broken, it is breaking through to perfect expression. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as permanent illness. There is only temporary appearance yielding to divine reality. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine wisdom. Every confusion you experience, every uncertainty you face, every doubt that clouds your mind, all of these are actually perfect understanding gathering force. Let me bring all these eternal principles to their ultimate culmination. For what I have shared with you tonight is not merely theory, it is the absolute law of imminent breakthrough, the divine science of manifestation. Here is your final revelation. You who sit here now, hearing these words, receiving this message, you are not approaching your breakthrough. You are standing in its very presence. The very fact that these words are reaching your consciousness is absolute proof that your manifestation is at hand. Remember this fundamental truth. The universe, which is your own wonderful human imagination pushed out, must respond to your consciousness of breakthrough, not by human timing, but by divine law, not by mortal calculation, but by eternal principle. Here is your final instruction. Take what I have revealed to you tonight and live in the absolute assurance that everything you desire is already pressing against the thin veil of appearance, seeking expression. For this is not mere possibility, this is divine law. I tell you with complete authority, if you will maintain this consciousness of imminent breakthrough, your entire world must reshape itself to reflect this truth. Every obstacle must yield, every limitation must dissolve, every barrier must crumble before your consciousness of imminent manifestation. Go forth now in the absolute, knowing that your breakthrough is not coming, it is here. You are not approaching it, you are standing in its presence. You are not waiting for it, you are witnessing its unfolding. Remember, you are not calling forth something that does not exist. You are simply awakening to what eternally is. Everything you desire already exists in divine substance, pressing against appearance, waiting for your consciousness to align with its expression. Let this be your conviction as you leave here tonight. Your breakthrough is not a future event, it is a present reality. It is not something to achieve, it is something to accept. It is not something to create. It is something to allow. For this is the eternal promise and it cannot fail. What appears as delay is divine timing. What feels like resistance is reality gathering force. What seems like waiting is actually manifestation unfolding. The end has been reached for you. Now possess the key to all manifestation. your consciousness of imminent breakthrough. Use it faithfully, use it consistently, and watch every obstacle transform into opportunity, every limitation into liberation, every barrier into breakthrough.